Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about the 1965 science fiction film Alphaville. You can kind of see the poster right there. This film was directed by Jean-Luc Godard. Godard famously was part of the French New Wave group of filmmakers who, starting in the early 1960s, were making films that were experimenting with film grammar, film language, with themes, with style, many aspects of film. And Godard's film Breathless, which came out in 59 or 60, is considered one of the first French New Wave films, and what made a major impact when it came out at its time, and it continues to be a famous, very famous film. Godard made many films in the 1960s. Alphaville was his only science fiction film, and typically the French New Wave did not make science fiction films. Typically they made dramas, more character-driven stories, nothing like high-concept movies like you would typically get with science fiction. So Alphaville, no surprise, was an unconventional science fiction film for its time. One of the things that made it unconventional was Godard shot the movie throughout Paris. He felt the architecture of Paris, the interiors of Parisian buildings were futuristic enough, so there were no artificial sets or anything like that you would typically get with a science fiction movie. So Godard was very innovative in that way. Special effects as well were kept at a real minimum. The film was made very low budget and kind of, open up the possibilities in some ways of what you could do with a science fiction movie. I think Godard admired science fiction, especially low-budget science fiction, and he was taking that approach, but also bringing a lot of his themes into the story that, once again, were very, very influential. A lot of the themes Godard brought to it. What the story is about, basically it's about a city that's controlled by a computer known as Alpha 60, and the main character of the film is played by Eddie Constantine, who plays Lemmy Caution, a secret agent who is sent to the city to try to figure out the mystery of the computer and possibly even to destroy the computer. It also stars Anna Karenina as Natasha von Braun, whose father created the computer. So the film it's vague. A lot of this film is kept vague, and it's supposed to be in the future, but I think it works better if you imagine the film being set in a alternate 1965, maybe a world where the Second World War went differently, and the world kind of went on this different timeline. And there are vague allusions to the world of 1965 in this movie. It's sort of implied that there's like space travel and a lot of high tech happening, not just on Earth and other places, but a lot of those are just asides, though. So much of this movie is just impressionistic of what the future might look like. Everything is kept kind of elliptical and vague in that way. And the idea of a computer controlling everything, once again, that's we would see that in many more movies to come. So it's also a dystopian society where the computer has a voice. It talks in this kind of very guttural voice that sounds mechanical but also a little bit human at the same time. So it has this very kind of creepy sound to its voice. It doesn't allow expressions of emotion. Any creativity is also frowned upon and can bring about very harsh penalties. And also language is a big theme in this movie, and how language is being changed all the time, and words are starting to be erased from the language to the point where, like the Anna Karenina character, like she can't really read sentences. She can only focus on certain words and their meaning. So that's a very interesting idea. The idea of language gradually kind of becoming nonsensical. I mean, George Orwell did some of that with 1984 with doublespeak, but Godard kind of brought this interesting idea of erasing language to the genre. So, and I should mention as well, Lemmy Caution is a character from other stories, was a hard-boiled detective character in novels, and also had some movies made with the character. But in this instance, the character was brought into this more science fiction type of world. Okay, so the world of Alphaville, everything is regimented. Everything is technical. You get the sense watching the film that the computer is watching everything and monitoring everybody. We see how harsh the penalties can be if you do break the rules of this world. You also get the sense that the computer is interested in like taking over. So the idea the computer has this very human quality of the need to conquer and dominate and things like that. So as the character Lemmy Caution begins to investigate, he gets into a number of discussions with Alpha 60 where trying in some ways to have a dialogue with the computer, and those scenes are very interesting how they play out. There's a lot in the movie. A lot of tracking shots are used where there's a lot of circular structures throughout this movie, a lot of like spiral staircases, and we get this, it's kind of Kafkaesque, where we get the sense that everything is kind of moving in circles in this world that's kind of an upside down world, but also not. There's also screens everywhere. TV screens seem to be almost like used as furniture, used for entertainment. There's just like the screens are everywhere in the frame as well. The music is really an interesting musical score throughout the movie, or orchestral score is used to kind of highlight the emotions of the story as we get to know the characters. There's allusions to the world of 1965, no doubt about it. But like I said, it's the world we get in this movie. It's such a singular world that seems like this alternate version of our own reality, and the ideas in it are definitely very interesting in that regard. So it's a movie about how technology can control us, willingly control people. I mean, it's about love is a big theme in the movie, and that being possibly one of the saving graces of humanity, the ability to love, and there is like a romance story at the center of all this. Once again, it's all very unconventional in the way it's used. Like, there are so many scenes in motel rooms and like cheap hotel rooms, and kind of the underbelly of the city and what's happening and things like that. So the film, I think, is also commenting on cinema as well, the way cinema tells stories, and how here Godard is often playing with with style throughout the movie. There's a lot of use of close-ups throughout the film, almost like if you've seen those Andy Warhol movies of close-ups. There's scenes of characters and dialogue between each other, but also with the computer and a lot of things like that as well. So, yeah, Alphaville. It's a unique film. If you're looking for a science fiction film that is different from the rest, unlike any, definitely in 1965. And I should mention as well at the top that Godard also brought a strong film noir influence into the movie, where film noir, like we get the sense that there's a mystery at the center of the story, and the black and white cinematography is vibrant. The use of shadow and darkness and light are big themes in the film on many levels. Just the way the visual style of the film, but also the characters are often discussing darkness and light and what is the difference between them a lot. So there's much there. So the film noir influence and the science fiction influence are quite effective, the way they're blended. Of course, other movies, I guess it's a genre almost these days, of tech noir, which we would see with, like in the 80s with like Blade Runner with Ridley Scott, or The Terminator. James Cameron would take noirish elements and bring them into a science fiction type of scenario. So, yeah, Alphaville, an important science fiction movie of the 1960s, certainly different from many other movies of its time, and a movie that I think one benefits from rewatching. I know I've watched the movie maybe 3 or 4 times, and you really get a lot every time you come back to it, and to try to get a sense of what the film is trying to say about technology and freedom and love, and a world that has really no humanistic side to it, a world that's just kind of cast humanism aside. So, like I said, very unique film, great themes, and yeah, Alphaville. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.